All right, there will be bourbon. Morgan Hancock joining me. How we doing, ma'am?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for
Out,
having me.
Outstanding. Thanks for joining me. So a little different than the usual There Will Be Bourbon episodes we're doing. But as always, fueled by America's native spirit, picked this one up like 6 or 7 months ago and just realized I'd never opened it. So I probably finally thought I should. It is the Old Forester 1897 bottled and bond. It's made by Brown-Forman. They actually did make a bottled and bond when that act was first passed in 1897. So that's actually pretty cool that they brought that back. I think it was part of their Whiskey Row series a couple years back. Doesn't have an age statement, but if it's going by the law, I guess it's 4 years old. So that's what I've got. I don't know if Morgan's imbibing or if she's just like, look, it's noon.
I got stuff. I got stuff. Okay, I'm kind of embarrassed to show what I got,
It doesn't matter.
but no, let me. So, really, this is sort of a faux. So I have to get sponsors for a lot of what I do.
Yeah.
And so I should always only have one of my sponsors on a camera. But I don't. But it's not one of my sponsors.
Okay.
And people always say, "What's your favorite bourbon? What's your favorite bourbon?" And typically my answer is the politically correct, whoever's sponsoring me at the time. But I'm gonna be honest today.
There we
My
go.
my favorite, believe it or not, is just the good old Jim Beam white label.
Hey, you like what you like. I got
Like,
I got the big. Here we go. So the San Francisco Giants version I picked up a
um,
few years back. They make a Jim Beam sponsors them like at the ballpark. So they make an annual one. So I picked this up just to keep around and have it never open. But look, it's good,
yeah,
right?
I mean, I could have brought something, like interesting or you know what? It's not that it's not interesting, but yeah, that's what I have over here. But I do have this. I gotta try this.
What do we got?
This is not even a, and this was sent to me in the mail recently to try. I've not opened it yet.
Okay.
Harlem
Harlem
Standard.
Standard.
It's made in Kentucky, but it's obviously Harlem, New York.
The New
It,
York.
it-
Okay.
it's
The
not
source
distributed.
there.
It's not distributed in Kentucky at all.
Hmm.
Yet. And so I've connected with them recently, and they actually just sent me this in the mail. And so I promised them I will try it this weekend and review it.
Okay.
But I just opened it. So I just opened it today. So
All
so
right.
I
So there you go.
got
That's legit. All right. So because honestly, most people don't drink with me on this show, which is
oh,
fine. Or if they do, they're not really, coming with your background. So that's why I think it's kind of interesting that you are here. And I know you did say that there's actually a reason you're here. You're talking about what it is you do, which is bourbon with heart, right?
mhm.
Okay. And what is that? Tell us all about it.
So Bourbon with Heart is a nonprofit organization. And what we do is we combine our love of bourbon and our love of art together. So everyone in the world knows Kentucky is the leader of the bourbon industry.
Right.
But what people don't realize about Kentucky is we have a really robust arts culture here. So much talent is very important to Kentuckians. It's a big part of our life and our culture. And for some reason, that's not ever been communicated well to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And so this is kind of a way we're combining two of the best things about Kentucky is bourbon and its artists, but also leveraging that influence and popularity of bourbon to bring the awareness, raise funds, educate people on our art scene. And it's working.
Well, because people don't also realize that it's one thing to be an artist, but you need inspiration. And what better to inspire you to be creative than
Well,
bourbon?
that's true. It inspires people in a lot of different ways sometimes. But we say um, art, um, like a good glass of bourbon, brings people together and
Right.
encourages self-expression.
Exactly. I
Self
mean, that's pretty much
self-expression
yeah. I mean,
can
that's all
be
this show really is. Like it's fueled by America's native spirit, bourbon, and I just go where the bourbon tells me. That's my creativity. That's my creative process. Okay.
Be
So
careful with that though. We do say practice the art of drinking responsibly. So
yeah.
there's self-expression can take on all different forms.
Well, that's why I just try and do it in my where I live, and that way I can just pass out and go to bed, and it's fine. I don't have to worry about anything getting crazy. There's a lot of other things that brought me into realizing that I'd like to actually have you on here and talk to you. So you are from where?
Kentucky.
Right? No, what? It's a very small town, right?
Oh yeah, it's called Litchfield, Kentucky.
Litchfield. Okay. And so growing up in that area, is this something that led you to the military, to the army specifically? Like how did you find yourself in that path? Because I don't think most people would look at you or look at what you're doing and think that she has, the army background. So that's what's, probably a little bit more interesting. I think people should know about.
Well, that's a good question. So, because sometimes I have to ask myself, how did I get there? So a lot of times, and I don't fully know the answer, but I'll do my best. Because I'm still trying to figure out how I got there. Um, I know that. So I didn't have the typical childhood teenage life. I had my first son at 16.
Okay.
I was kind of a wild child. Um, I school was not necessarily. Now look, I was good at school academically. Behaviorally not so much. And so I ended up dropping out of high school and had a child. And then I kind of realized a couple years into that, I better do something with my life.
Yeah.
And I knew, okay, I need to figure out how to go back to school, and the military would help with that. So that was one component of it is it paid for my college. The other component was 9/11 happened when I was just turning 15, 14, 15.
Yeah.
So it's a time in my life where it was really impactful. And basically from the day that we witnessed that, myself and a lot of my friends were determined that as soon as we were old enough to do something, we would try to do
You would
something.
do it. Right. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only reason I joined as well. I mean,
Okay.
I've told this story a million times on this podcast. Is I was following a silly dream of thinking I was going to be a professional baseball player in college. And, when you can't play in college, you probably can't play in the majors. And then 9/11 happened. And again, but that's kind of like I think what kind of connects people like myself and you and others from call it the GWAT or the GWAT, whatever it is you assign it with, from basically the war on terror era, is that was the unifying call to service moment for this country that we all grew up and experienced. And you were fortunately, you were younger than me when it happened, but you were still right at that age where it's like, okay, it's not just where I grow up and live. Like there's a whole world out there, and they may or may not have really good feelings for us, right? And the only people got to be able to carry on what it is we like and preserve and respect and try to live through values wise is ourselves. And I don't know if you pay attention to any of this stuff or if it's something you even have a thought on, but we don't have that currently.
Mhm.
We really don't. And that's why all branches, it's not just the Army, but every branch is really struggling to meet its recruiting mission. And one of the biggest reasons, there's two things that I've always thought. One, a buddy of mine mentioned, it's like, why would you ever be in the military if you're not at war? Right. Which is, kind of makes sense in a way. And then the other part is exactly what brought you and I into it, is that there's no current call for service or any unifying message. And there was a lot of us that thought maybe everything that went on with COVID that would inspire people to serve because there was a medical component. There was an opportunity to actually serve in your community and do things. And that didn't happen. It just didn't.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if you think what other, young teens or kids going through at the same time in their lives, 15, 16, 17, whatever it is, why do you think, or do you even have an opinion on why people aren't joining to serve at this point?
Well, all the reasons you said,
Yeah.
make perfect sense because it wasn't a thought in my mind
Right.
before 9/11. But I mean, there's nothing more powerful than moral outrage, and
Yeah.
we have to have something to be outraged or to fight for or against. And so all those reasons make sense, but maybe one chance would be military parents would be influential on their children to
Mm.
join. But I'm sure that that young people now continuing on that tradition, military tradition, is probably the numbers are probably getting smaller.
Oh yeah, I mean, I have a daughter. My daughter's 17. I don't want her anywhere really near the army, and she doesn't really have a desire to serve, which is fine. Her mom, is in the army as well, and she's still in. But that's kind of also an issue though, when I think it's like, oh well, we'll just rely on military family to continue service, because I think the biggest issue is that a lot of the issues that we see going on with just not just military service, but everything we watched unfold in the withdrawal from Afghanistan and all the other stuff that's gone on throughout the years, is most average Americans just aren't connected to it because it doesn't affect them.
Hmm.
But where you come from, especially in Kentucky, I mean, that tons of veterans are in that state and come from that state and fill up our ranks. I mean, we have our largest training ground is there at one point. I was a drill sergeant at Fort Knox for a little bit once upon a time. So that's kind of also the issue, is that a lot of the people, even from that region, the South, which is largely made up our military throughout history, even they're not joining. So that's kind of, kind of where we're at. All right, we're not going to have this be all about military recruiting. I want to know more about Bourbon with Heart. So you just had your event, or is there another one coming up, or how'd this work?
Both. We just had
Yeah.
our event,
Okay.
and there's another one coming up. We had we called it the unveiling night, but
Okay.
opening night of our bourbon barrel art exhibit fundraiser.
Yeah.
That was Wednesday night. That was a few nights ago, and it was a huge success. I mean, I could not possibly ask for it to have gone better. What I had envisioned, it went so far above and beyond that. And honestly, it was perfect. It really was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a bourbon barrel art exhibit.
Okay. And so that's so people are just what they get a barrel and they just start turning it into artwork or what? Because barrels aren't cheap.
Yeah. No, none of this was cheap. So, but we thankfully we raised a lot of money
Yeah.
to help cover all that, and plus have a large surplus to give away. So, the bourbon barrel art exhibit, it was actual bourbon barrels, which
Yeah.
they're large, they're heavy. And when I came up with this idea to do a bourbon barrel art exhibit, I didn't fully think through how heavy of an art medium I was choosing. And but like with so many things, I'm so glad I don't know how much work it's going to be when I start, or I may not ever start.
Yeah.
And so I figured out a lot of things as I went. But when I decided that I wanted to do this art exhibit, I had realized that it had not been done. When it came to me, of course, I Googled first thing you do to see if it's been
Yeah.
done. And when I realized that we hadn't done a bourbon barrel art anything in Louisville, Kentucky, well, one, that blew my mind. And two, I'm like, this has to happen now. And so I went to figure out where am I gonna hold this? Where would be a good venue for this? And we have Fraser Kentucky History Museum.
Yeah.
That's the
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
official starting point of the Kentucky Bourbon Trail. So I
Oh,
thought,
really? Okay. I did not know that.
what place would be better than this
No.
to start this? So I approached them with nothing, with an idea and a really quick kind of PowerPoint thing I printed off and put together, and go in with the CEO and his team and put down the papers, and then I immediately see I've spelled artist wrong on the cover, and I'm like, oh gosh, they're gonna think like, why do we let this crazy person even present to us? But I presented and they loved it, and they said, yeah, we want to do it. This was September 2020, so just this past September.
Okay.
They said, yeah, let's do it. When should it launch? And I thought, well, we're Bourbon with Heart. We want to call this exhibit Barrels of Heart. February, it's Heart Month. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Let's launch
Yeah.
February 1st. I just threw that out.
Yeah.
And so then I get home and I realize, oh no, I got to do this. I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
have a single barrel. I don't have a single artist. And this thing has to launch fully in this museum in a matter of months. So, uh, but we did it.
How long is this exhibit going on?
2 months.
2 months. Okay. So I assume you got plans to do it again, or is this do other events throughout the year, or this is one and done and you're just going to figure out what you're going to do next?
Well, we certainly plan to do it again next year, the Bourbon
Okay.
Barrel. We plan for it to be an annual thing.
Okay.
But we have events planned throughout the rest of this year. They're just not it's
Yeah.
not
No.
Bourbon Barrel art exhibit.
Okay.
It's
So
other things.
how many barrels did you get submitted, or did you guys have a contest? Did you choose, or did whoever wanted to somehow get a bourbon barrel and paint
No,
it?
No, so then when I realized what I got myself into when I got
Yeah.
home, I mean, we didn't have a website, nothing. Like just all this had to come to life so
It's like
quickly.
my set. I got nothing because the movers lost everything.
Well, so I thought, well, I just gotta hurry up and get some bourbon barrels. So I just went on Facebook Marketplace and bought 20 bourbon barrels. I had
Is it
them
that simple?
in Kentucky. It's that
Yeah,
simple.
yeah. Okay.
I don't know if it's that simple everywhere else.
Does make sense.
Um,
Okay.
so I get these and I'm like, where the hell am I gonna put these things? Like they're huge, and I couldn't afford new bourbon barrels because even in Kentucky, you
Yeah, but why
know,
would you want a new one? You want a used one.
well, but because when I got the used ones, they're filthy, like covered in dirt. They're cracked. They're
Uh,
dirty. So
oh,
I'm
okay. I
like,
see
you
what you
can't
mean.
paint on these things.
Got it.
So then I spent like the next week like pressure washing, trying to like sand clean them, and then simultaneously realized we got to get artists now. So we throw together, and when I say we, I really mean me. But throw together throw together a website, put out an artist call that we need artists to paint these bourbon barrels, and we can only pick 20. In less than 2 weeks,
Okay.
they had to be from Kentucky, also the artist.
Got it.
In less than 2 weeks, we had well over 150 submissions, and
Oh, wow.
literally every single one was phenomenal artist.
Uh,
And they were still pouring in when I had to cut it off. So picking 20 was really, really difficult.
yeah.
But they were all amazing. So picked them. Then we have to deliver these barrels to their houses. Well, I didn't think about
Logistics. What'd you
logistics.
do in the army?
Well, now I'm really embarrassed to say what I did in the army because we were called the spearhead of logistics.
So you were 88 Mike then.
That's a whole nother story of how I got in that
Oh
good
wait, so you were the 88 November.
no 88 Mike.
Oh, okay.
Like no offense, 88 Mike's look the worst thing you could possibly be.
You'd be surprised at what some of the stuff you depends, I guess.
That's pretty bad.
We'll get into that then if you have.
Yeah, I mean, name something worse. Iraq, Afghanistan, name something worse.
Oh,
Truck driver.
wait, what year? Actually, wait, fine. 2000, you could be a fueler. You know what they did in 03? They just sat there, or the shower and laundry specialist, 92 Sierra, they just sat there filling up giant water bladders in the middle of the desert so you could take a shower.
But were they driving over IEDs?
No, that's a fair. No, you're not wrong. But some would say that that's not the bad part about it. That's kind of the fun part. Depends what you get into, I guess. You know,
Yeah, sure. That's fun.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that is you bring up a valid point, but that was the difference between it being like monotonous or literally you got to pay attention to what you do every single day because you are doing. Were you in Baghdad at all?
No.
Okay, well, because so there was that sign if you went out on an MSR Tampa. I don't know if you drove across that route at all, but it said there was a sign that said when you went out the gate, the last thing you saw was "Is today your day?" But that's going with what you're saying. You
Yeah,
know,
I
I
did.
look back on it and joke about this stuff because we've all done the convoys and all, but it's when you really think about that sign, like that's stuck with me almost literally 20 years later. But it's true. It's what you're saying, like because
You could put that just up in your house as now as a day.
I
I mean,
should.
that's a good mindset to
I
have
just
every
wonder who
day.
came. Yeah, I wonder who came up with that. But yeah, it is true. It could be bad or positive. Is today your day in a good way, or is today your day you're just gonna,
Yeah, and honestly, that's really a perspective that I really keep on life, which is part of why I don't mind to take risk or do things that might just
yeah.
be a total disaster because I'm like, what's the worst that could happen is I die, and that's not really that bad, you know?
Write that down, somebody. What's the worst that could happen? You die, and that's not really that bad.
I mean, and that's kind
So,
of the worst. I mean,
yeah. Okay. So wait. I know I steered you off course, but so you figured
oh, it's
out
okay.
how the hell we're gonna get these barrels to all these people throughout the state of Kentucky because it's not a small
Yes.
state.
Yes, and I didn't factor in things like should like the artist may live on the third floor with no elevator, or yeah. So like, and these are empty. They're about 130 pounds, which is
Okay, yeah, that's not light.
well, that's I mean that's more than
I was about
me.
to say it's probably bigger than you.
And and even if you can pick up 130 pounds, it's an awkward
Yeah, it's an odd
130.
object.
Yeah,
Yeah,
pounds.
difficult.
So making all kinds of weird like MacGyver ramps and different things and lifts and straps and pulleys and to get these things all over the place. And then I finally did learn after moving them about 40 times that they make a dolly made for a yard waste trash can that's got a big circular bottom.
Okay, yeah,
That's great for these.
life changer. There you go.
Yeah, it's still not easy, but it makes a big difference. Um, so get them all delivered, get the artist painting, and then I realized, well, this is supposed to be a fundraiser, which means we got to have funds. And so how's that gonna happen?
Yeah.
And so then I decided, well, we'll have each barrel sponsored by either a bourbon brand or local company. And so then it turned into, I mean, I had to just be a full out sales machine for, because really fundraising is sales.
Yeah.
I had to sell all these things. And I did. Sold all of them at 3,000 each, $60,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. And had to turn people away who wanted to buy them. So now I just
All that sounds like is there going to be 6,000 next year.
I didn't have to have right now because I just launched the exhibit. That sounds very exhausting, but give me a week and I'll probably be all for it.
Yeah, I was gonna say when because it's gonna keep growing, and then eventually you just get the distilleries to sponsor a single barrel to where they can produce everything, buy that brand, and then take the artwork from that barrel and put that as the label.
Yes.
See,
So
I mean, come on,
people keep people keep bringing that idea up,
because it's
and
so popular right now. Every store across this country is getting single barrels.
yeah. Yeah, and so that would definitely take it to another level.
Yep.
But it was amazing to see. I've never seen the community come together so quickly and in such a huge way over something. And I mean, we brought people together, people who would never be in the same room together because we wanted our artists to be all different walks of life. So, I mean, we've got artists from 18 to 65. We have award-winning artists. We have the artist who painted here in Kentucky, Woodford. They do a derby bottle every year, and it's a big deal.
That's
So the
pretty cool.
artist who does that, it's a big deal. So this artist actually did it 2 consecutive years. He designed it
wow.
2018 and 19. So we have everyone from that to someone who just learned recently at one of those paint and sip classes with their wife that he can he has a knack for painting. To we have artists with all different disabilities. I mean, we've got it all across
So
the
you've got
board.
Marines.
But we don't have yes.
No, you said
I
people
get
with
it. Disability.
I gotta send that to my buddy later. He's a Marine, so.
No, did we may have actually, but that's a good one.
Yeah. I mean, you get all kinds. There's a ton. I'm sure you know this, but there's a ton of ways you can go with that in terms of growth. I mean, it's
Oh my gosh,
if it was already this much of a success, it's only gonna get more popular, and probably because it's something that, like you said, people haven't heard of or done or know about. So that always makes people excited when it's something new rather than just the local artichoke dip contest or something.
I don't think anyone's doing that. That's nothing new, I think. But now I'm thinking it could be art, a choke. It could be art.
Look, I'm just here throwing out ideas. You take them and run with them.
We could get 20 hand-painted artichokes. And I thought someone would love that.
Somewhere, probably in Italy, where they're really like,
everything you think of, someone out there would love it.
That's true. Art's subjective. It's not,
I could debate that too, but
yeah. Well, I mean, I'm looking at this Air Force memorial outside my window, and I don't know who thought that was art, but that looks awful. That's just I don't even know what it means. I've been trying to research it and I just can't bring myself to because it's the Air Force and it's like it's whatever.
Well, speaking of military, Marines,
Yeah,
art, all that, my very next exhibit that the artist call is going on right now. When will this be live? When will this air?
I'll upload it tonight, tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah, I don't
you're
do anything special. This is just
oh, okay.
we drink and we go, and that's it.
All right. Well, that tells me how what a kind of production this will be. That will be
Exactly. Yeah, I don't want you. You better have very low expectations. This is not a production. This is a
okay.
recording. That's what this is.
Well, so this will launch tonight. I have an
No, I'll
artist.
upload it tomorrow. I won't do it tonight. It'll be tomorrow.
Okay, tomorrow we'll still have the artist call. This artist call goes until February 15th.
Oh yeah, plenty of time. And I'll
So
make a note of that so it's in the notes.
yes. However, I don't. They have to be from Kentucky, or at
Yep, that's
least
fine.
they don't have to necessarily live there now, but they need to be from Kentucky at some point. But this is something very unique and that we're super excited about. It's a bourbon barrel bow tie art exhibit. Literally, these bow ties are made out of bourbon barrels.
What?
Yeah, I'll show you one here
No.
in a minute.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want
So
one. That's what I want.
so they're wooden, obviously.
Yeah.
And there's a group of US military woodworkers in here in Kentucky, and they discovered that woodworking really helps their PTSD. So
That's awesome.
they have hand carved 50 bow ties for me made out of bourbon barrels. And so I've got videos, I'll be posting it later, all the way from, breaking down the barrel to pulling off the stave
That's cool.
to turning it into this this bow
Yeah.
tie. So then from there, after we get that, then I did the artist call for 50 artists who will then either they'll hand paint the bow tie or they'll carve it, further,
Yeah.
designs, or the pyrography, which is burning designs into it, which we had one of our barrel artists actually did pyrography for her barrel. And then they will be on display at what's called the Galt House Hotel in downtown Louisville. It's the official hotel of the Kentucky Derby. It's sold out for weeks surrounding that. So the exposure
Yeah.
and then people that are going to see this from all over the world coming in from Derby, it's going to be a huge exhibit. So here's here's some of the bow ties. They're not painted obviously yet. We're doing our artist call, but you can sort of see. So
Oh yeah. Okay.
they'll
Yeah. Oh,
but
I
they'll
definitely want one of these. I need
so
to, I
this
need I need to wear this around here when I go to one of these events.
yes, well, this is just the template basically. I mean, but these
Yeah.
are all made from bourbon barrels. They're made. This is
That's cool.
the military veterans I was talking about. It's
Yeah.
Cruise
Cruise Customs.
Customs,
Okay.
bourbon barrel. They make bourbon barrel flags, but we commissioned them
I'll write this down.
to do this. They never done this before, but I thought you can make flags, you can make bow ties,
Like anything, yeah.
and they killed it. So they made 50 of these for me. They're actually going to be the artists that do a couple of them. They're gonna carve and make
Yeah.
intricate designs. So that artist call is going on right now, and each one of these will also be sponsored. That'll be how we raise the funds as well.
So that's the next Bourbon with Heart.
Yeah, so that artist call ends February 15th. The
15.
exhibit will launch April 1st and go through the Kentucky Derby, which is the first Saturday in May.
This may be a dumb question, but have you ever been to the Kentucky Derby?
Heck yeah.
I almost went once. I ended up on CQ at Knox and didn't get to go.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I mean,
It looks fun. I mean, I still would love to go. It looks like it'd be a good time.
well,
It seems more of like the build up because the race is what, 2-3 minutes and then it's over. Everybody go home. But like everything else leading up to it is probably what you're there for, right?
that 2 minutes is
Yeah. Good
it's
time.
yeah. I mean, they're not lying when they say the most exciting 2 minutes in sports.
Yeah.
It's there's nothing like it, and I know that I'm a Kentuckian, but there's literally nothing like it that I've ever experienced. And I've been really fortunate because I work in the media and work with
Yeah.
media, so I get like all access
That's cool.
to everywhere. And the very best seat in the house for Derby is not looking down that way to the track. It's looking back at the crowd from the other side. Because during that 2 minutes,
Just
the
watch everybody
face,
look.
the
Yeah.
faces, and like, and then at that very end, like you see either the happiest people on earth or like the
Yeah,
most upset,
right.
and the expressions are just like it's so exciting.
Well, was it this one last year where the like complete underdog was the one that won, or was that one? Was that the Derby? Okay,
Yeah, Rich
yeah, that
Strike.
was
He
nuts.
he wasn't even
That
he
was
didn't even
nuts.
know until like the day of he was gonna get to be in. Like he wasn't.
But his odds were ridiculous. Like, because the only people who probably bet on him to win were his trainers and owners, right? And that, oh my, like everyone missed out on that. Like, but that to me still like when I think about that, because at the end of the day, like that's it's he says the 2 minutes thing, but it's an athletic competition of those incredible horses, right? But
Yeah.
still, nothing like that would happen in the Olympics with like the 100-meter dash or something. Like you we know who's going to win that for the most part, and for something like that to happen in literally the biggest horse race in the world, that's still insane to me that took place.
Oh yeah.
Like
Oh,
that horse, I just because you'll never know, but you got to think like that horse must have been like out of his mind. Like, oh, I can catch. I don't know. I don't know what horses think. I know they're smart, but I just wonder if that horse is like, watch this. Just.
well, they certainly seem to know what's going on
Oh yeah, totally.
whenever you're there. But that was so exciting. And then because of being with media, I got to follow the owners then back to
Yeah.
getting their acceptance and all that. And I mean, they never saw it. I mean, they weren't even supposed to be in the race as
Right.
of earlier that day.
But they were the only ones to be like, all right, let's just go put $100 down and see what happens. Right. And they're
I'm
like, oh
sure.
shit. That's nobody else literally bet that horse unless it's some like degenerate in some. I don't know if you guys have legal casinos in Kentucky, but some guy like reading a newspaper and with his 15th cigarette in the morning in Vegas, like, I'm gonna just bet 100 or let's just do it. Oh shit. That's kind of how that
Yeah,
worked. Um,
probably so. But one of my barrel artists, he for his barrel, he wrapping around it, he painted 7 Derby winners, but as if they were racing each other.
oh
And so
damn.
it's
That's
titled
cool.
Barrel of Dreams because I mean, what a dream it
Yeah,
would
it'll
be to
never
have
happen. Yeah, that's
the
awesome.
Derby. There's so many cool of the barrels. So if bourbonwithheart.org, you can go and see the barrels.
Yeah, maybe I
Um,
need to make sure I put that in the notes as well.
it's
Whatever.
absolutely not the same as in person, but the photos and videos are still.
No, nothing is. I mean, like urbanwithheart.org. I don't know if you've do you like to go to museums? Have you go to museums around the world and country or whatever? I don't know if you ever traveled outside, but I remember I've never got to see the actual Last Supper, right? That Da Vinci did. But one of the times I was in Vegas was when that Da Vinci exhibit was going on, and they did like a life-size replica of it. And I mean, that thing is massive.
Yeah.
And all you ever see it usually is in a textbook or something as a kid growing up. You're just like, oh, great. Yeah, that's cool. But then, like, when you see something and then you realize it was painted,
Mhm. Oh yeah, well,
it's hard to put in the words like what that experience is like. And that's even seeing like a replica of it was just like, oh my God, this is crazy.
yeah, it really is. I had similar experience when I had went to, like the Sistine Chapel, and
Mhm.
you see, like Michael, they painted that on his back on
I know,
rafters,
like
like the whole.
the same way you delivered barrels up to the third floor. Like that is the same pulley system.
Probably was about that. I think his
Yeah.
was probably more sophisticated than
Yeah.
mine.
Same level of tech,
Uh,
probably most for sure.
Now speaking of the last dinner, but now
Supper.
I want to say the last cocktail because that was that was one of my or I call them my barrel designs. I call these artists my artists. I feel like they're my
Yeah.
children. I
They
say like
are.
I
Yeah.
adopted them, but one was called the last cocktail,
Okay.
and the design, and it was so amazing. So this artist took like it has the Mona Lisa, it has Vincent van Gogh, the farmer and his wife,
Yeah.
these famous um characters of art history, and she had it and she it was as if they escaped their frames and they escaped the museums and they took a trip to Churchill Downs. And they're wrapped around the barrel. So it's Mona Lisa drinking old fashioned with their Churchill Downs ticket and Vincent van Gogh. And they this is their so then the way the last cocktail came about is after after they went to the track, saw the race, then they stopped at a bar in downtown Louisville, and they're having a drink, and then they realize, oh no, we're next door to the Fraser History Museum. Are we going to get captured again and put back in frames? Will this be our last cocktail?
That's funny.
And I
Good.
wish you could see. I'll have to
Yeah,
show.
that's good.
This was so we got the cover of
Is
local
that her?
magazine.
Oh no, oh, I can see it. Oh yeah, she is.
But so you can't fully see, but here's like this is Mona Lisa having it, and it wraps around with all the others. But this is our
That's
local.
really cool. That's actually a really cool idea. Like whoever came up with that was actually that's pretty creative.
Yes, Marty. Marty came up with that. Marty's a full-time nurse who just paints for fun, and she's a incredible artistic
Do you,
genius that needs to be discovered around the world.
do you know that the painting The Son of Man, the guy in the suit with the apple? So someone needs to do that with the old fashioned in front of it instead of the apple.
I mean, that could be
Then
a
I will
whole
buy that. I
that
will
could be
buy
a
that.
whole the
That's what I mean.
possibilities are endless of combining bourbon with art. I mean,
It
that
really
could
is.
be a whole series in itself.
Yeah.
We
You
have
stumbled onto something.
I know, and it's exciting yet like exhausting, but I say in the very best possible way to be exhausted. But we have Bourbon and Broadway coming up, Bourbon and Ballet, Bourbon and Beethoven.
Now, Bourbon and Beethoven, I can get down with, or Bourbon and Iron Maiden. That'd be great. We can do that. That's no.
I mean, I really like it needs like kind of the alliteration of the B's. So if it starts with a B, it sounds better.
Sounds better. Okay.
Bourbon, yeah.
Um,
Bourbon and Byron Baden.
who's that?
It's just putting a B on Iron Maiden.
Oh, okay. I thought it was just some random like Kentucky band maybe that you knew. Byron Baden. Yeah. Well, Benjamin Breed. They did a song named Benjamin Breed about like this kid who was disappeared in the early 1900s or 1800s. I don't know. Anyway, it's pretty creepy. But there you go. Bourbon and Benjamin Breed.
I'll let you do that one. You that one's all you. You can
I kind of don't
you
want
got
to do that one. It's kind of
you can do
creepy.
that.
Well, that's why I like bourbon and baseball. Baseball is my other favorite sport. My favorite sport. But that's my other favorite thing. And like a lot of people go and drink beer at bourbon or at baseball games. I always get bourbon. I
Well,
do, and it's a little. It can get troublesome sometimes in the sun in the afternoon.
well, in Kentucky though, like it's expected you're gonna have bourbon anywhere. But and I know I just now you're getting me all excited because you're reminding me of so many things. So another one of the things that we have planned to do is here in Louisville, it's Louisville Slugger.
Yep.
Um
Yep.
so the Louisville Slugger Museum is actually directly across from the Fraser Museum where we just did this exhibit.
Yep.
So we're going to do a um Louisville Slugger baseball bat art exhibit. Every baseball will be hand painted in a different way
That's
and on
cool.
a big
I need to see that.
art
I would go see
display.
that.
And
I'd
then they'll
love to
be
see that.
auctioned off, for charity.
Yeah.
But Louisville Slugger will provide the baseball bats, and it's the most famous bat in the world. So
It really is, and yeah, that's pretty cool. When's that?
I'm trying
Don't
to
know
figure out
yet.
how to fit everything in.
It's got to be during baseball season.
Right. So the issue is like fitting all this stuff in, but it's within the next year.
Okay.
So we got to get through bourbon barrel bow ties for Derby.
Yeah.
And then we want to start a Bourbon with Heart awards or the Heart of Bourbon awards. So that will be awarding, distilleries, people that work within distilleries, individuals in the industry, for their philanthropic efforts, and awarding and recognizing the generosity of the industry and the people within it. So that's coming up also.
That's cool. I like this.
Thank you.
I want to see the bourbon and baseball one though. I need to see the bat thing. I will go down for that.
I'm excited. I know. I need more hours. I need more people. You want to come work for us? Can you move again?
Let's talk.
We don't pay, by the way.
Yeah, see, that's going to be an issue. I get it. It's a little cheaper to live in Kentucky, but yeah, we're going to have to work on the compensation. I can only do so much for bourbon, I mean, and if you can pay in that'd be a good little side job I can do.
We could maybe work that out.
Yeah, that'll be good. I actually tried that when I was getting out of the army. I was like, let me try and apply to all these different distilleries, and It didn't work.
Why?
I don't know. It's a tough process, I guess. I don't know. Never heard back from him. I always get those emails like, "Oh, we're moving with other candidates." I'm like, oh, okay, no, I tried. But yeah, it was kind of like the backup. I knew where my path was going to take me. It took me here, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'd definitely come down and do one of these exhibits or not. Like that's the good thing about this. I was in California, and it's hard to get to anything from there because it's just such a long flight. But
Yeah.
now, I mean, here everything's like,
You're right. You're basically right by Kentucky now. I
yeah,
mean, you could.
yeah.
It's not. You could even drive. It's like 10 hours, right? Or less.
It might be a little less. My parents live in Tennessee, and I was looking at where they're at. They're in Pikeville in Tennessee. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's in the middle of nowhere, which is great. And it's that's like 9.5 hours. But I like driving. Like that's my thing. I would much rather drive anywhere than fly.
Yeah, I like it too. Yeah, I get my good audiobook on, and
Yeah, I'm a more of a I'm all about the journey rather than the destination. So it's like
Mhm.
the drive is amazing. And then so actually when I moved out here, because I literally just moved out here, but it's the third winter in a row I've driven from the West Coast to the East Coast. It's kind of, I don't know. It's very it's an experience every time. Like this was the most uneventful version, but it's just crazy when you come across the West and the Continental Divide and all those mountains and everything. And then you get out here and then you get where you're going and it's like, oh well, now what? That's kind of me. That's me with everything. It's like the process leading up to, which maybe I don't know if you experience any of this with putting together your events. Like you have all those things that come up and then the new challenges that pop up, like the logistics and all that stuff. But then once the event actually happens, it's like, well, what am I gonna do tomorrow? But at least it sounds like you actually got others in line. So I don't know if you get any of that vibe.
yeah, and I think that for anyone who, particularly those that are kind of entrepreneurial minded, that's certainly the case. I mean, and that actually art is a really good example of that because Heaven's Door whiskey is one of our
Yeah.
sponsors. It's Bob
Good.
Dylan's bourbon.
Yeah.
Bob Dylan, they're going to be coming to Kentucky soon. But the CEO of that company said something recently that really stuck with me, and I don't want to steal it from him, so I'm giving him credit, but it's a line that I definitely adopted. Um, he said he had a really successful bourbon before Heaven's Door, which was Angel's Envy, and so
That was tough to move to.
after that was a big success, he was like, well, what do I do now? And so he said the line, after you've finished your masterpiece, what do you do? And he said, well, create another one.
Yeah.
And so now he's doing this with Heaven's Door. And I mean, I think that, and I've also heard even Super Bowl winners, the worst day of their life is the day after they
The
win the
day
Super
after.
Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, if you can really understand, if you're not always chasing that end and realize that when you're in the thick of it, when you're in the
Yeah. It's the
chaos,
journey.
that's the fun part. That's
It's the journey. It's absolutely, and that's why I think so many people look at. Now here's a great example. I think is Tom Brady,
mm,
right? Especially with everything that just happened with him this last year. Everyone's just like, how can he give up? From the outside looking in, it looks like he gave up his marriage and his family to go play one more season. It's like whether that was true or not, you're not understanding the type of individual he is. He's just ridiculously competitive and he knows nothing else. Like he's literally played professional football for more years than he hasn't.
right.
So what people can't understand is like he's been to the greatest possible stage in the eyes of the world 10 times. And he's won it 7 and he has no other idea of what it feels like to do anything else. So yeah, of course it's probably hard for the average person whose biggest competition throughout the day is he making it to work on time? Well, that's not him, right? But that's just what he's manifested it into football, right? There's so many people across this planet who have that same ridiculous mindset, whether it's competitive or it's entrepreneurial, like you said, and they have to manifest it into something. And that's just him. And that's just what the eyes of our country put the attention on. But what you just described, someone like an artist or whoever it is, like that's what they're always looking for. And look at great artists throughout history. People, they were never really appreciated in their moment, right? That was just the times in the society. Like the stuff you're describing, whoever made the Mona Lisa and the Van Gogh and all that stuff, they would have no concept of what it is you're doing right now. You know what I mean? Like they would have no concept of someone like taking that and making the last cocktail out of it. That just wasn't something that they could even remotely envision.
Mm. Well, art
But they were
certainly.
never happy, right? Like those artists were just they were always trying to create something, and that was the biggest struggle for them. And the stuff that they made, a lot of it was throwaway that people found greatness in. It's just there's a different type of human, really.
Yeah, well, I mean, because the the satisfaction, just like, I mean, it comes from the process. They're
Yep.
not. You're never going to get somewhere and say, "Oh, okay, now
Yeah,
it's
I'm
all
done.
good. It's
I'm
all
done. I'm
good."
good. That's it.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, certainly. And I just with the parallels that art, it really immortalizes people also, as you were just saying. These
Yeah. Well, look at
lives on.
Beethoven. I mean,
Right.
same thing. Like just any of that stuff.
Yeah. Well, and not to this is maybe kind of going down a weird road, but
Do it. Let's go.
but I'm weird, and you're probably weird, so um
What? No.
oh, there you go. You got your angels envy.
Well, yeah, I got a store pick from this liquor store before I left Napa in California. It's a barrel proof one. It's really good. I've only had one sip, so I'm going to go to that next. But you said Angels Envy, and it conjured it up. But anyway, don't let me interrupt.
So I think I don't know if it is connected to spending time in the military, and or if it's I kind of had a very religious upbringing. I'm not sure what it is, but I do kind of have a like strange preoccupation with I don't know how to say this, but death. I mean, I just said earlier, what's worse that could
Yeah,
happen.
what's the worst thing that could happen?
So
It's
so
not
I
that
have
bad.
so I have this idea, and you can tell me if this is the stupidest thing you've ever heard, or if you think this
Well,
could
I've heard some
be,
stupid stuff.
or if you think other people besides me might possibly find this interesting.
Okay.
So I wanted to do an exhibit where I go and connect with like hospice, or we have a place here called like the Hildegard House, which is a place where people who can go to die, who like have no family, nobody, so that they're not alone. So go to these people, and in their final weeks of life, if they're an artist, one, have them create something. If they're not an artist, my team who are artists in terms of photography, photograph them or interview them, and then make an exhibit of, in a sense, the art of dying. It's the it's I think that would be fascinating.
I think you're on to something because just maybe again, I don't know of that ever being done, right? At least here, or definitely
I've
not in Kentucky, right? But
I've never heard of it. And you would
yeah,
get a glimpse into, I mean, I can't help but think if someone's in their final weeks of life, you're going to get their most truest
you hope.
self.
Yeah, you hope
You
if
hope.
they're buying into it, because they
Or
might just be like, what the fuck's wrong with you? Like, why? You know what I mean? But you could be onto something.
or you'll learn, I don't want to be that way, or I do want to be that
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
But either way, you would get a glimpse into a time of someone's life that's very significant, and then put that, on a display. And then also, even this makes it sound kind of strange, but like almost an Instagram page, like the faces of dying. I mean, it's
Mhm.
these people, kind of how they have like the people in New York, like Instagram, where it's they just pick a random person on the street and they
Yeah.
take photograph, and they. So I know that's not really like a fun topic. That's not bourbon. That's not, but it's
No, but you
just.
can put bourbon with it. You can give them bourbon while they're there, I suppose.
I mean, I
Yeah,
guess it depends on why. I mean, if they're like dying of like
I know.
cirrhosis of the liver or something, that might not be a good
That might
look.
be the best way to go out. Like, why stop? I mean, this has got you here. You might as well keep going. See, like, no, trust me. I know exactly what you're saying. Like, the military gives us a lot of dark humor, and most people don't understand that. But trust me. Yeah. The only thing I would tell you is don't call it Faces of Death because
That's a movie. Or,
yeah,
yeah.
remember those? Remember I grew up with that stuff. I think I was a little older than you. I don't know if you saw them, but yeah, like
Oh, I
we used to have
remember that.
some weird stuff in the '90s. Faces of Death. One I remember. All right, you brought this up, so now we're here. But
I
it
know
was,
this got dark on a Saturday afternoon.
but it was like they drawled and quartered someone. Like, do you know what that is?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, like,
I do it all the time.
oh, okay. Well, it makes sense. A lot of horses in Kentucky.
Yeah. That's what we do after the Derby after party. That's downs after dark.
Makes sense. Whoever the losing trainer is, they'll draw and quarter him. You never hear from him again. Just,
That's what they use the retired horses for.
Makes sense. Oh, speaking of retired horses, I remember I was going to, where was I going? I think I was going to Buffalo Trace a couple of years ago. And like you drive by that like retired thoroughbred farm. Are you familiar with that?
Mm-hmm.
That's so cool. I think that was like the coolest thing I've ever driven past
Mm-hmm.
randomly. I was like, oh, that's cool. Good spot for them. Hanging out, seahorses
Yeah.
just running for fun, racing
Yeah.
each other. Damn, I was about to ask you something.
I don't know. I probably just lost all my sponsorships.
No, you'll get them
I'm
all
just,
back. I mean,
maybe some funeral
yeah,
funeral
right.
homes.
Instead of bourbon, cooperages, you can get some coffin cooperages to maybe sponsor
Bourbon
you.
barrel casket.
Yes, yes. Now
Hand
that's what I
painted.
want.
Hand
I actually
painted
want
by
that.
local artists.
Or you could get cremated together with a bourbon barrel, and then your ashes and then
Yes, because
ashes.
they do the fire. Man, I'm
And then your
just,
ashes will be nice and charred and smell like, vanilla and caramel and your typical
yeah,
bourbon notes. That'd be great.
the sky's the limit.
Oh, then you could paint the urns.
Well, I was thinking the caskets, yeah, hand painted, but,
Urns are way
or
easier.
you could have like a single barrel of
Death.
grandma, like,
Like, what does Jack Daniels do? They filter it through charcoal.
she could be on the label. Okay.
Look, this is why I said, like, I hope you know what you're getting into, because this is where the bourbon takes me, and this is where it takes. This was actually your fault. I'm not even going to take
I should say, I hope you know what you were getting.
I'm fine. I can do this all day. This is great.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what happened there.
That's
I don't know
fine.
how we went from this really nice, positive, uplifting story
It's
of
still positive. You brought up doing something about the art of death or art of dying,
art,
and
maybe art after death.
instead of life after death, it's just art after
Yeah.
death. Okay.
Art delies. Marked out.
Oh, I get it.
I'm
clever.
okay. I'm in the brainstorming process. Okay,
Remember Fight Club? What he's like, oh, I get it. You're very clever.
Yeah, it's not that you don't get it.
I get it. it's right there. Right there in front of me. Oh.
Bourbon barrel bow ties is next.
Yeah.
Painting that, yeah. The exhibit. Oh, you can vote for your favorite barrel artist right now online. The winning artist out of the 20 of the bourbon barrels, they win a cash prize, and then the nonprofit of their choice gets a cash prize. So you've got almost 7 more weeks to vote for your favorite barrel design, and it's bourbonwithheart.org/vote.
/vote. Okay. Yeah, I need to make sure that gets put in there too. So I can send a bunch of death advocates there to go vote.
Death advocate.
Yeah, I'm gonna go post in all the like crematorium forums. I'm sure there is, because there's a forum for everything. There's gotta be a Facebook group or something.
If somebody steals I said it first, bourbon barrel caskets right here, right now.
You should be filing a copyright trademark or something right now as you're doing it. Like, you should have a team firing off trademarks for all these ideas. Bourbon caskets, getting your ashes cremated with a bourbon barrel. I would totally do that. Like, that's something I would literally make as in my will, be like, I want to be cremated with a Buffalo Trace barrel.
I mean, that's cool.
Specifically Stag Junior. That's my favorite.
That'd be cool.
It would be. And then, like I said, then we'll take it over to Jack Daniels and have him filter something through my ashes and really impart all that great character and flavor profile.
I think it's a fantastic idea.
I mean, that's what I do here. I come up with fantastic ideas. I would like to circle back, if we may.
Yes.
How much time you got?
Well, it's not how much I got. How much longer would I want to do?
Sounds pretty open.
No. I would say approximately 15-ish more minutes. 15 to 30 more minutes.
30 to an hour. Okay, got it. So going back to, because I know you said you know, you're not the first to ever have like a wild childhood or a unique childhood like that.
Hmm.
But a lot of people don't experience that and channel that into what you're doing now, right? Like you got to be able to look back at your life and be like, this could have gone a lot worse than it has, right?
Yeah.
And I know you went to the army, but what brought you towards the entrepreneur route? Because at some point, something had to wake up inside you, or something had to spark that interest into you that you've managed to chase that now. So, what was it that did that?
I think a lot of that for people is just innate. I mean, I
Yeah,
had an entrepreneurial spirit as long as I can remember. It's just, as you said, it's just a matter of do you harness it
yeah.
for socially acceptable or not things. And so I think that it's all the same energy that kind of made me a rebel or quote unquote wild child. It's the same exact energy. It's just being harnessed in a more positive, socially acceptable direction. Um, so anyway, I got out of the army and I've always been interested in politics. I thought I always wanted to be in politics. I
Science. Yeah. All right.
still want to eventually maybe, run for office. So I had thought at that time, well, military plus law school would add up to some type of political career. So I actually went to law
You're not
school
wrong. Yeah.
after the army. I went to law school. But nowadays that's not so much the case. At that time, all of Congress was attorneys. No, not
Yeah.
anymore. Not anymore.
It's all
Now
about
it's
the cult of personality. This actual appearance is going to really help you because they're going to be like, oh wow, she likes death. It's going to be great. We're going to vote for her.
I don't worry about anything
You
harming
shouldn't.
or hurting a political run because I mean, it's been proven anything can be
This is my point. With I was just
overcome.
talking about this with my cousin. It's like, look, what you may have once been afraid of, you no longer have to. It doesn't matter anymore. We've already dropped the veil on everything. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah. No, I mean, look at the people. Some people who have become president. I mean, anybody can.
But that's the point, right? Anybody should be able to become president. That was what the
Right.
founding was. Anybody. It's the
Yes.
people's
Well.
house. It's the people's house.
Well, and
Representative of the people.
can you imagine, what it's going to be like for? I have two sons. Like for
Oh yeah.
their
Oh
generation. I mean,
boy.
their entire life is documented online.
Yep.
And,
Yeah.
you know, there's going to be no big shocker or anything you could find about somebody in future political runs. The standard is going to have
Yeah.
to be way lower as far
Yeah.
as, finding crazy, drunken, and
Well, that was the problem to begin with. There shouldn't be a standard for a politician. Like that's what we've created in our mind. It's like, wow, this guy's supposed to be like some. No, your political leaders should not be people who you look up and aspire to. It should be your family first, and then look for people outside of that from there, right? But so it was. Did the army specifically wake you up to that because of what your experiences were in the army, or was it just you thought of, hey, I should go to law school because of whatever? Because I think like the only reason I wanted to go do and majored in political science was my time in Iraq. Like I just read and saw so many what I thought were political failures that were taking place, and I was like, okay, there's got to be a way, and that was what kind of led me into that path. And I may have strayed from it a bit in the recent years, but I think kind of like you, at some point, I would like to move back in that direction, but it's not going to be anytime soon. So too much bourbon.
yeah.
Like
Yes.
all these hours of videos people are going to thumb through to try and find stuff to say about me and be like, yeah, all you got to do is you can't just don't deny anything, just
Mhm.
own it.
Exactly. Well, that's one of the so when I lived in DC, I think I
Yeah,
said that.
yeah, you
And
did. Yeah.
I worked at what's called the Leadership Institute.
Okay.
And they would we would have classes on campaign management, and one of those was just, you immediately own all negative information. If you say it first, then what? I mean, it's like I already said that, you
Yeah,
know.
exactly. So what?
Yeah,
And
so and the faster you just get it out, then the faster it's old news. and just move on.
It's very true. That's a good point. I think people need to understand that. It's a very good point.
Well, and on the reverse, if you're wanting to hurt somebody and you have a lot of negative information on them, they called it cutting the puppy dog's tail off 1 inch at a time. So instead of just cutting the puppy dog's tail off at once, then he moves on. It's not so painful. But you cut it off 1 inch at a time. That's very painful. In other words, you let out the negative information. If you have all of it, you let it out tiny bits at a time, because otherwise it's just done, over with.
Yeah,
Moved on.
No, I get that, but I just want to point out that you've gone from the art of dying to cutting off puppy dogs' tails.
That was just a metaphor, analogy, a figure.
Yeah. Well, I've never actually heard that one, but that is good. That does make sense though too, because why would you don't want to, well, that's why we always get what these October surprises we were always conditioned to expect. And I don't think it even happens anymore because everything's so 24/7 that no one cares. Right. But that may also be the way to go. But wait, you've seen this like AI stuff that they've done recently, right? Have you seen this?
Oh yeah.
Did you see the stuff they just had Biden saying?
Wait, I didn't see that, but I've seen
Oh my, okay. Well, when you're done, just go, what do we do? We Google, right? So just Google Biden, like on some anti-gay transgender rant. And it's just the craziest thing because it's 100% like, it looks like him saying it. And it's his voice, but it's all AI. And he's like, how do you even know what's real anymore?
No, you don't. And it's scary because even if someone puts something out there that they know isn't true, even just the image and the perception, if it gets in someone's mind once, even if it's proven false later, it's totally shifted how you can view that person. So it'll be interesting to see what all AI and does.
Speaking of which, I think it's supposed to be close to you by now. Can you see that Chinese balloon floating over you guys yet?
Let's see. No, but there's a comet here today. There's a comet passing us.
Was there? It's not Haley's, is it? No, it can't be Haley's.
I forget the name of it, but down at a Tom Sawyer Park, they're having a comet party tonight, and you can go and
you should have a bourbon comet party.
A bourbon vomit party? I've had those.
No, well, we've all had those. How it's been a while though, but yeah, we've all had those, man. All right.
It's been a long time though, because we're professionals now.
Are we?
I'm very professional.
Are we? I mean,
I'm even wearing a bourbon.
Markstown, nice. Okay.
Pullover. I mean,
yeah, I see that.
Talk about professional.
I'm assuming that's a sponsor.
No, but I want them to be bow tie sponsors though.
Okay. And then what's the hat?
That's Victoria's Secret.
Oh, I thought you made it very clear up front that you were like, everything is a sponsor, but clearly everything so far has not been a sponsor.
Don't believe what I say, okay? That's your first problem.
There you go. We finally got her to say it. It's been an hour. Please don't believe anything Morgan Hancock says. All right.
That'll be the clip for my political run. Don't believe anything.
Don't believe anything I say. That's a good slogan. That'd be great. I mean, what's better than that? Don't believe anything I say. What was I just watching? There was something very similar. It's not don't believe anything I say. Whatever. I'm 3 glasses in at this point. I'm not gonna remember anything. Oh, what are we drinking? I saw it.
That's my Jim Beam.
Oh, okay. It looked very light. I was just making sure.
The ice melted as we've been talking.
Are you an ice? Are you a rocks person?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I like to go neat.
I am a rocks person and I'm not ashamed of it.
There's nothing wrong with that. I like rocks if I do a cocktail or if I make my own version of an old fashioned or something. But just bourbon on its own, I'll go neat. Unless it's the summer and I'm out at a baseball game baking in the sun.
Yeah.
That's the problem with bourbon. Like, so I don't know. I guess it's probably there's rivers in Kentucky. Did you ever float a river?
Float?
Yeah. Like get on a tube, just float down a river for a few hours, get hammered. You've done that?
Yeah. 2.
Okay. 2? Oh, you've counted. 2 rivers or 2 times?
Tubing.
Oh, tubing. Okay. At least it's like, oh wow, yeah. 2 rivers, 2 times. No. Well, yeah, but you can't do that with bourbon. You really can't.
Well, we have bourbon slushies.
Ooh,
Yeah, those are
cherry.
that's the yeah. Those are
Cherry.
that's the summer drink.
Cherry bourbon stuff should be good. You know what? I just recently had a bartender make for me out here was a cherry bourbon sour.
Mm.
So good. Morgan, go request that. Wherever you go next. Cherry bourbon sour. Do you like cherry? If you don't, it's fine.
I
But
do, I do. I mean,
okay.
we drink a lot of old fashions, but I mean that's not really cherry. It's cherry, but it's not really cherry
No, so I
flavor.
make mine with walnut bitters, the black
Mm,
walnut bitters. It's so good. And
that'd
then
be
I
good.
just drop like 3 of those Luxardo cherries and then a scoop of the syrup and just
Hmm. I actually make mine with no simple syrup.
I don't use simple. Yeah, I don't use
I don't
simple
like
syrup.
it sweet.
But no,
But
my point about floating the river, right, is you need to have a 30 pack of some barely alcohol having beer, like, Colorado Rocky Mountain spring water or Colorado Kool-Aid, whatever it is you refer to Coors Light as. And that's what you drink as you float. Because if you drink, if I know now you told me the slushy, I'm going to need you to send me a recipe for a bourbon slushy. That'd be great. But if I go out there with a bottle of Buffalo Trace, I'm going to drown most likely at some point. I used to float the American River in California, and there's always this section that's kind of rapids-ish. And depending on how the winter was with the flow from the spring when everything melts, it's not safe. Like I took my
well,
daughter out there, and we went over a rock, and she just popped her tube and it was like slow motion. She fell down, and I was like, no, and grabbed her arm and pulled her back up. But imagine if I was doing that with bourbon, I wouldn't have a daughter.
well,
Now it's getting dark.
if we found you, I would burn you in a what was your brand of choice?
Buffalo Trace.
Buffalo Trace
Yeah.
barrel.
Thank you.
So
That'd be great.
if that makes you feel any better about it.
If you could contact them after this, let them know that we're gonna need a barrel. And then I'm gonna come down and work for you on the weekends part time for bourbon, not for a
Okay.
barrel.
Barrel of bourbon. Um, but yeah, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just a Kentucky thing because we can do that and we don't drown.
Allegedly.
So so so
Well,
I
it's
don't know.
almost summer. I say we find out that maybe that can be your bourbon and boats, or we'll get a big bourbon river lake float or something, and we can paint up some. No, I don't want to paint the
I
boat.
feel like these ideas are digressing. For a while I feel like we were on fire, but
We
now
were. I'm just look, bourbon and water, bourbon and floats. You get bourbon out there on the water in the summer, and I'm just gonna, yeah. I mean, we'll get the slushies thing going, and that'd be fun.
you know how they made those competitions when you were in school and you would have to make the boats out of like aluminum
Yes,
foil or something? This
we
could
do that.
be like a competition of you have to float in a bourbon barrel and you race.
Yes, that'd be great.
You know,
Barrel
or
racing, but with bourbon barrels.
yeah. Well, you've seen or have you seen those pictures of the people wearing the
Yeah, like the bourbon. That was the barrel. Yeah.
well, that was a punishment. So if got
Was
too
it?
drunk or something in public, you would have to wear that as punishment.
Oh, I've definitely should have been made to wear that a few times then. I mean, it's been a while, but I definitely would have been chosen.
I mean, it's not a bad idea though. That would certainly discourage me from ever doing that again if I had to wear a 130-pound bourbon barrel around the town.
I doubt it. You'd still do it.
Or I'd just get really strong and
Yeah, exactly. Just have someone paint the barrel, whatever. It's art.
you'd have to get really strong. What is this muscle right here?
Your traps.
Yes, your traps would get strong, I think.
Strong like bull. Yeah, you go. Yeah,
But
that'd be good.
that's an army thing too. You got strong traps from the Black Vest.
Did you wear a flak vest or did you get? But when years were you in?
7 to 11. But what
Okay.
about you?
Well, I joined in '02, like right after 9/11. Like, so when I joined, like, I had bulked up when I was in college playing baseball, and I went to the recruiter like a week after 9/11. I was like, let's go. And he's like, yeah, come back when you lose 18 pounds. I was like, oh, shit. So I actually joined in January of '02 when I lost it. But yeah, I'm still in. I'm in back in the reserves now. So I've been in 20.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was 21 years on the 30th of January.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a
So
long
how
time.
much long? That is a
I don't
long
know. It's
time.
easy at this point. I'm having fun hanging out in the reserves, just getting paid to hang out with people on the
You
weekends.
say that, you better like knock on wood. You don't
Why?
know.
What? What's
I
gonna
because
happen?
you don't know. You
What's
never
gonna
know.
happen? I'm so far removed from anything happening at this point. Like, whatever. It's fine.
Well, I hope so.
I
But
know.
good for you. Thanks for hanging in there so long.
Hey, you're welcome for my service. You know,
I'm thanking you right now.
and thank you
That's
for
what I'm
yours.
saying. Thank you.
No,
No,
that's what I was
yours,
saying. So
trust
you
me.
were 07 to 11. So that's when I became a drill sergeant in 2008.
Oh, you're a drill sergeant.
Yeah, but I was at Benning, so you wouldn't have came through there.
Mm,
But no, where'd you go?
now I'm judging you.
Why are you judging me? What?
I did. I don't. Drill sergeant.
Oh, sorry.
Well, I just didn't have good experiences with my drill sergeants, but
Well,
um,
they're not all great like me. Sorry.
okay, I'll believe. I'm just going to trust that. But
Trust.
mine were. I'm not going to speak poorly of them. I'm not going to speak poorly and reflect poorly on the.
Did you go to Jackson or did you go to Bliss? Oh wait, not Bliss.
I was at Bliss for a while.
No, I'm saying like
Oh, for
basic
basic.
training. Yeah.
Uh, we're at Leonard Wood,
Oh,
Missouri.
you went to Missouri. Okay. What's damn Fort Sill? That's the one I was thinking of. Okay. Yeah. Well, I don't know if you know this or not, but Leonard Wood is definitely part of the drill sergeant curriculum because there's a massive case study on just how awful they were in the 90s. Like
Well,
a lot of really,
we called it Fort Lost in the Woods,
yeah.
Missouri. Yeah, but
Does
yeah,
the
no.
land have that bad? I've never been to Leonard Wood. It's like one of the few installations I've never been to. Does the land have
Um,
force that bad?
it was pretty bad. I was there January through, I guess, what
Ugh,
March or so. So this, I mean, it was
too cold.
snow. Yeah,
Yeah, too
and then
cold.
I went straight from there to El Paso to Bliss,
Bliss,
which
yeah.
was like 100 degrees. So it
Bliss
like
is really nice now. They do all the like the demobilizations go through there. I don't know how it was when you went, but it's like they've rebuilt that whole base. You
hmm,
probably haven't seen it.
it was mostly an Air Force when I
Oh
was.
yeah, no, that's so the Sergeant Major Academy is there, and all like there's so First Armored Division moved there from Germany. Like there's so much
Hmm,
that's been built. There's a Texas Roadhouse grill there. Like it's just all kinds of crazy.
really?
Yeah, yeah. But you know, my thing is I don't like to hang out on bases. I like to get out in the economy. So I went. I remember when I was driving out to California when I was moving out there. I drove and I went through Bliss. Well, I went through El Paso, and I found like this crazy Iranian restaurant that had the most amazing food. It was so good. Like that's what I like to do. I like to just to cover like what's actually in cities and towns, not just do
I
like I
felt
hate
like we
I hate
got in
teams.
trouble every time we tried that. Cause
Well,
we
yeah,
would,
that's kind of the army way.
but in Bliss, like we tried to venture out, and I don't know. I think we ended up in Mexico.
Yeah, I
Like
was gonna say
somehow,
you're pretty close. You need to be careful.
yes. And we walk into this bar, and it's like 7 of us in our uniforms, and we walk in, and it just silence. Like everyone just stops what they're doing and staring, and it's. I
Yeah.
think like we were actually in Mexico, and they were like, it wasn't apparently a popular hangout spot for soldiers because they looked at us
Especially
like
soldiers in uniform.
they
That's
looked
smart.
terrified. But by the end of the night, we were all best friends.
Well,
No.
that's usually what happens in a bar, right? Especially if there's bourbon involved. Now, I don't know about in Mexico. It's probably tequila, which, you know, please don't do bourbon and tequila together ever or ever
Ugh.
have tequila. It's
Ugh.
awful.
Ugh. It's
Do you like
terrible.
tequila?
No.
Okay. See, I think people like us who actually do like bourbon, there's no reason to ever visit tequila. There really isn't,
No.
in my opinion. And I've had people on here. I had a really good guy who's, you know, he's like, oh, I love this high end tequila from wherever. I'm like, there's no
Every
such thing as high end
everyone
tequila.
I know who loves tequila, especially if it's a woman, they're crazy. Is that
I love how you preface that with especially if it's a woman, because you look, if I say that, it's a problem. But the fact that you said it kind of clears a lot of things up for a lot of people. It's true.
it's
Because
just
I'm just
I'm
agreeing with you.
only basing that off of my personal experiences and perspective. Everyone's experience may be different.
No, I think my experience is exactly yours. I think you're right. I don't think tequila has ever led to a positive outcome at the end of a night. It's always bad. If I've ever had any bad like alcohol related experiences, now granted, we've talked earlier. I have thrown up from bourbon. We've all had, right? But tequila has never ended well.
Yeah, no. I mean, they make songs about it. I think country songs.
I mean, country makes a song about everything at this point.
Everything that's terrible.
Everything is terrible. Everything that's an alcohol. But yeah, I think the last time I had a tequila related experience was 3 years ago, and it ended poorly. And I will never drink it again. I've made that decision.
Well, same. I'll never drink it. My worst alcohol, the one alcohol I'll never ever drink again is limoncello.
Oh, I actually like those.
Mm.
So in Vegas, they're good in the sun.
Well, I had went to Italy in Europe because I was actually studying medieval art. And so I went there and brought some back home. Well, I had opened it and I, still packed it. Well, I didn't know that, I guess it's got some cream. It's like kind of cream based. It has to be refrigerated. It doesn't just stay good when it's open. So I got back home and then like 7 days later, we crack it open, we're drinking it, and we all got like deathly sick, like, cause it was like rotten, I guess. And so now just the smell of like lemon or ugh, it's so bad.
But
Um,
I mean, limoncello, you're drinking like the legit real stuff from Italy. But I think, and I've said this before to people, like, I don't want to drink bourbon straight. What do I mix it with? I'm like, well, you don't have to mix with anything, but if you really feel like you need to add something to it, squeeze a lemon into it and just throw that inside it and just stir it up. Because it's like the easiest thing in the world to make and give you some sort of like mellowness to it. But the fact that the smell of a lemon, I'm just that's that's kind of sad.
well, I actually really like grapefruit with my
That's good.
bourbon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
My brother
it's
makes this grapefruit bourbon smash because he grows them out in California. Oh, it's in the summer. Oh,
yeah,
it's good.
yeah, I love that. So I
Oh.
suggest a little grapefruit. They make grapefruit bitters too. You can put a little bit of that in there.
Do they?
I think they make everything bitters.
Yeah, I think you're right. But I need to get them and I need to get some cherry bitters. But right now I'm in this black walnut bitter thing, like I was saying, like that phase. I'm
That's
in
good
that.
too.
Oh God, they're so good. It's just total game changer. Like completely adds that woody profile, but in a good way. Because I'm not a big
Yeah.
fan of oak in my bourbon, but I like the wood note. The oak comes off a little sweet to me, which
Yeah,
I
yeah.
do like sweetness, but for whatever reason, oak sweetness. Like the one I think you will really taste it if people are like, what does oak taste like in a bourbon? Get Evan Williams bottled and bond. That's all it is. It's delicious. I like it.
I haven't tried it.
What's that?
I haven't tried it.
What? You're
No.
from Kentucky.
Yeah, I haven't tried it. I mean,
It's,
Evan Williams, yeah,
I
but
mean, you've never had the bottled and bond. It's probably your best value. So let me ask you this, because I think I got a few more minutes with you here. Let me ask you this. I want to ask you this. I know you said your favorite, but I do like I get so many of these questions, especially because of this podcast specifically. But what's like what should everybody have is kind of what I've been told, right? Or been asked. And I have four things that I think everybody should have.
okay.
And they're all different from a flavor profile perspective. And I've ranked these, I've done these in like flavor profiles and everything. But they're all about the same price, between 15 and 25 bucks, wherever you're at.
Okay.
Evan Williams, bottled and bond.
Okay.
Buffalo Trace, Wild Turkey 101, and Elijah Craig. Those are the four staples I think everyone should have. And those are the four things I think everyone should try if they're new to bourbon, because each one of those is different, 100% different from a flavor perspective. And if you taste all four of those, you'll find something you like, and then you can follow that and progress, right? Then you can get into stronger proofs, and you can get into different expressions from the distilleries. I mean, I think one of the best things you can ever buy is this right here. This is like 40 bucks everywhere. This Russell's Reserve 10-year, like people go nuts. 3 years later, for whatever, you still can't find a bottle of Russell's Reserve for the 13-year anywhere since they came out with it, which makes no sense to me because you can go buy the 10-year everywhere for 40 bucks.
Well, that's what I was going to. So my just kind of everyday standard is just the Jim Beam white label, just as an everyday. But the Russell 10-year is certainly one of my favorites, and Knob Creek Rye. Knob Creek is
actually, I'm going to Knob right now, but I'm
there we
going
go.
to the Knob 12. That's what I'm going to finish with.
Well, I love the Knob Creek Rye. I also love the Bullet Rye.
Oh, you know what's good about Oracle Park in San Francisco is
What?
they had the Bullet sponsorship, and they'll have the bullet, uh, the barrel strength and the tenure there. That's where I find myself in some trouble about the fourth inning when I've had a double of the barrel strength in the sun.
That's you need. That's why you need bourbon slushies.
I don't know why you're not out there right now petitioning to every major league park or Major League Baseball in general and be like, look, I get it. We have bourbon sponsorships with every park, but how about bourbon slushies? Because they don't offer that.
Well, speaking of that, so here's another idea. I'm saying them on here, and I got half of these trademarks in the works, so nobody steal all this stuff from
That's
me.
right.
So
Don't steal her stuff. Don't be that guy.
people
Don't do
do.
that. People are
So here we have a lot of big bourbon festivals with food trucks, and so obviously having the bourbon slushies at one of these festivals. But I actually earlier this year came up with, so you know bourbon balls, the chocolates.
Yeah. Oh god.
But what I do is deep fry them. So it's
What?
but listen, it's Kentucky Fried Bourbon Balls. And I made the most awesome logo, and I got all these t-shirts. And like, how awesome of a food truck would this be? Go getting 3 Kentucky Fried Bourbon Balls and a bourbon slushie. They are so delicious. I gotta send you a picture or video of them.
You need to do all this, and I need to know when we can hang out so I can eat these and
Oh,
drink
they
them.
are so good.
That's all I want to do.
Yeah.
The summer's
Well,
coming. I am ready.
and
Road
you
trip
know,
season.
and I looked at Kentucky Fried Bourbon Bowl. I mean,
That
we
sounds
can use,
amazing.
yeah.
They fry everything. Every time I take my daughter to a fair, I got fried. My favorite thing was like fried Reese's peanut butter cups. I love that. Fried Snickers, fried
Yeah.
Twinkies, like all that. Like that's, you give me fried bourbon ball.
And they're so easy. They take about 2 seconds, and I use
Oh
pancake
God.
batter. So
What? Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, so you just
There
whip
you
up the
go.
pancake batter, dip them in, fry it for a
That's
second, put the
legit.
powdered sugar, yeah. And the name Kentucky Fried Bourbon Ball, who would think it would stick?
Say when, and I'm coming to buy like a 48 pack. That's all I want. That's great.
Yeah, I mean,
Are you going to sell those at your next bourbon event though? Like, have you thought about this? Do you do hors d'oeuvres? What are you doing? What's going on there for food and drink options? What do we got?
I just, catered, I just had a caterer. I can
Don't
only
do
do
that.
so, I
Don't
can only
do
do so
that.
much. I can't be over here frying
You
balls
don't
while
have.
I'm
You
like,
can. You hire someone to do that, or you just make them in advance. Come on, like this is
nobody
great.
wants
Bourbon
to work.
slushies.
Nobody wants to work these days. That's a whole nother
No, you're
topic.
right. That's a big thing with that, especially out in California and like Napa. I came from Napa. The service industry out there, it's largely what it is, but it's been crushed with post COVID because nobody wants to go back to work.
Yeah,
Like
that's
your
true.
service is really falling off. I don't know how it is in Kentucky. Are you seeing that in Kentucky as well?
Oh yeah. Oh
Really?
yeah. Nobody can find anybody to work. And if they do work, you have to pay them some insane amount for the easiest job, and then hope that they're going to show up. And if they, I mean, employers are at the mercy of their employees and like never before. The
Yeah, we call
power
it the
the
tyranny.
power shift.
The tyranny of the majority is what that's called. You were in political science, you know what that is.
Yes. Well,
Yeah,
it's
no.
definitely been like a power shift for sure, where the employees are certainly in charge nowadays, it seems.
Well, like I said, for these events, I will happily come and help.
Fry
But
up the bourbon balls.
I'm gonna need some bourbon balls and I'm gonna need some bourbon. That's it. That's all. You don't have to pay me at all. You just give me a bottle of bourbon and I'll definitely come down and help you. Um,
Well,
but no, legit. Oh, I would definitely. I would love to stay in touch with you moving forward because, like I said, It's not that far. I actually. I think what you're doing is pretty good. My brother was an artist, so I believe in what it is you're actually putting on, and I respect it a lot. I think it's pretty cool. And
it's not just the what we're doing for the artists too. We're donating. We'll be giving 27,000 to other local nonprofits.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. So yeah, I'd love to be a part of it going forward in some way. Definitely want to come down for one of those events. Probably the baseball one. That's more my jam. Just make sure you at that moment have the fried bourbon balls
and the slushies.
bourbon slushies with cherry. I want, so you know how you go to like and get Italian ices? I want that with bourbon, but then I want to be able to put my own flavor on top of it, and I want cherry.
Okay, like a Hawaiian ice type.
Yeah, but everything goes with bourbon, so it doesn't matter what flavor it is.
Oh, so that's a bourbon snow cone.
Yes, I want that.
Okay. That
Okay.
shouldn't be, I mean, that should be, if we can do slushies, we can do snow cones.
We can do it all. Look, these are cash cows. These are the things that make money. No, I don't
We're,
know how it works there. Maybe you gotta have a liquor license. I
you
don't
do.
fucking know. You're a nonprofit. You should be able to write that off.
Well, we are getting our charitable gaming license.
Are you really?
Yeah, so we can gamble it
Now
up
we're talking because
for good.
yeah, one of the things I used to do years before was gambling, sports talk stuff before it was legal and popular, and everyone does it now, so there's no point. But yeah, no, that's great. All right, so it's Morgan Hancock. She does bourbon with heart.
Yes.
What?
Yes, that's right.
Oh,
That's correct. Bourbon with heart. Yeah, and
what do you got? You pulling something out down there? You pulling a bottle out? What are you grabbing?
I have like this robotic arm thing. No, I don't have a robotic arm.
I
Let's
hope
just
not.
be,
Then that would put into perspective our IED talk
that
later
would be pretty
earlier.
cool though. I
It would
mean,
be.
uh, but no, I don't, thankfully. I have like this robotic arm type thing on my desk where I can like rest my elbow on it. And so I was adjusting it. Like a
You're
like
resting your arm on a robotic.
yeah, I wish I was in the camera shot, but you can't see it. It's a you hear it clicking. It's a robotic like arm. I'll
As long as it's connected to like a bar down there that you're just pulling bottles from, that'd be great. But
It's
yeah,
like an adjustable arm, so I can just like I'm just chilling on it right now.
that's cool. I'm just
Yeah.
chilling on this chair that isn't mine because my chairs still haven't shown up after 2 weeks, but whatever.
Well, you need to upgrade. I'll send you the link to this robotic arm.
Because I'm trying like over there is the office room where I'm gonna eventually put everything in. But yeah, I need everything. I need that. I need bourbon slushies. I need fried bourbon balls. I need all of this. And yeah. So like I said, I'll get this out. I'll send you all the links if you want to share them. Great. Maybe don't put them on your LinkedIn. That seems to be like your main social media thing. I don't know. It's fine. Whatever.
That
Just
is not my main
no.
at all. So if I want people to follow us, it's
Yeah.
just on Facebook or Instagram. We make it easy. It's just Bourbon with Heart.
Bourbon with heart. And you're not on Twitter. I've found that out.
No, I
Where am
couldn't.
I? That's
I
primarily
can
where I'm at.
only keep up so much.
Yeah, primarily that's where I post everything, but I do throw everything up on Facebook pages, Instagram, all that good stuff. So I'll send you all that stuff when it gets up tomorrow. But I do appreciate you spending your early afternoon with me, having in some Jim Beam. And yeah, like I said, I would love to stay in touch with you because I would love to help you out with everything that you got going on. I believe in it. I think it's a great project. And
Thank you.
that's Morgan Hancock, and she's about to go have some fried bourbon balls and some bourbon slushies off camera and talk about how to burn the dead, I guess.
We covered a lot of
It was.
ground.
All right, let me stop this.